face. I think probably because she was whispering so quietly that the video wasn't, going back to her. So this one you might just want to, there's not a ton to see. You might want to listen, but rest assured you will get to see her face, and it does kind of fix itself. But in the very beginning, it's just me, my face. So that is what's happening for today's video. I hope you guys enjoy it, and without further ado, let's get into it. Right, guys, so I am here with Genevieve. Like I said in the introduction, literally no clue what the visual is looking like right now because we're just recording this via Google Meet, and I've never done this before. But hi, Genevieve, how are you?
Yeah, I am great and also certain that my dog is about to scream and ruin this whole experience. It'll be a real fun time for you editing.
That's okay, it's all part of the process.
Wait, this is so wild. It's like I'm sleeping and I just jumped into my own dream and you were talking to me before I fell asleep, but now I'm talking to you in my own imagination.
Literally, what I was gonna say is this a mind fuck? So, guys, I don't know what I said in the intro. I didn't record it yet, but Genevieve listens to my ASMR, and that's how she found me. And I was gonna ask you, is this gonna fuck with your, feeling relaxation? Is it what? Do you know what I'm saying? Is it different? Or are you gonna fall asleep on the call? She'd be like,
That's what I was just thinking. The thing that I'm super aware of is that, because I'm so accustomed to just hearing you speak by yourself, it's something that my girlfriend and my colleague Skylar Fisk and I made a video together a week ago, and I was like, okay, I know when Julia has guests that sometimes it can get a little chaotic, and I am jarred by their laughter and stuff. So if anything, I just want the listener to know I'm feeling very conscientious of their relaxation just because I'm here. I don't want to interrupt the process.
totally. Which you watch ASMR and you know about it, so that's perfect. It's like the twins, Mara, whatever, anyone that's a guest in my video, they're not thinking that way. Or Tony, I have to always remind. Now we have to pause and we'll start to speak louder or do this, and I'll have to say, "Oh, hold on, stop! It's too loud."
So your friends don't watch your videos? This is something I've always wondered.
Oh, absolutely not. No, not at all. No.
Oh my god,
A
that's
couple of them will scroll by me on TikTok and like it and maybe watch a quick TikTok because I'm in their feed, but they're not YouTuber people. And I mean, Tony hates ASMR. Tony thinks it's the most uncomfortable thing to listen to.
Wait, that's such a relief for you because you can just go off on these rants about all of their personal stuff. That's great.
Right, but it's I have definitely found out at different times that people I've known have been a member of my website or things like that I wasn't expecting. So I don't know, I'm never gonna totally talk shit.
This is so interesting because I had I want to say I retired it about 3 years ago, but I had an ASMR channel. Thanks to
Has it been 3 years?
Honestly, I think it's been 3 years.
I thought it was 6 months.
No, and we should tell them all about how you actually single-handedly enabled my whole ASMR experience.
Yeah.
But it was partially it was a lot of things, which I get into in a video that I think I will have posted by the time this comes out, that made me retire it. One of them was I went through a breakup and I started dating someone new, and I knew that he was watching these videos, and I was like, I can't do that, even though I never, like you, had a handle over my anonymity and people know who I am from The Handmaid's Tale or whatever. I was was still like, this is too much. This is too much exposure to someone I actually know. So
oh, totally. I'm gonna make one comment and then I want to back up and like start over and introduce you in a real way. My parents, specifically my dad, because he's so supportive and so sweet, wants to watch my videos and like totally would, and like he's the best and I love him, but I'm like, Dad, you can't, I'm not telling you like my channel name, and he's like old so he can't like figure it out. And I'm like, I just would feel weird being my authentic self. Speak about dogs, I should close my window. I was like, I feel weird being like my authentic self, like as like a 30-year-old woman, like talking about whatever I talk about with like my dad watching. Do you know what I mean? So I understand that.
I understand. It's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if actually 80,000 people are watching you if one of them is your father. Unacceptable.
All right, so backing up, you guys know I ramble, whatever. So does she. Genevieve, why don't you explain who you are, what you do, your story of like ASMR, my channel, however you want to kind of like tie that all together.
Okay, hi, I'm Genevieve Angelson, and I'm an actor. Also, occasionally a writer and a somatic healer, which we can talk about some other time, but more relevantly, I am Julia's biggest fan, truly. And I discovered ASMR, I want to say like 10 years ago. I had this friend who was talking to me about this experience that he had of like tingling in his spine in certain situations that would trigger that. And I was like, oh, wait, there was this personal trainer at the gym who was just asking me these questions about myself in a like intake way. And I was like, maybe I have that. So I went onto YouTube with him and I found this whole collection of videos, and I was like, wow, this just totally does it for me. And every night I would listen. I can't remember when in my, I do remember. So for a couple of years, I was, can you hear that? Okay, great. That's the sound of my fridge. I hope it's lulling everybody to sleep. For a couple of years, I was totally devoted to Pig's Bum 53. Did you ever listen to her?
Yes, I'm pretty sure she was friends with Lily, who I know Lily's like my friend or whatever that did ASMR that doesn't do it anymore. So I think they like knew each other like just through online. But yes, I knew her.
Sometimes I think that like you are to me what Lily was to you, which is like the person who like helps you into finding this, and also like she had a really big platform right before she retired.
So Lily isn't the one who introduced me to ASMR. Lily was randomly my college roommate for summer session. I was doing like makeup YouTube at that point. Saw that she like saw ASMR come up on her like suggested when we were like pre-gaming listening to YouTube, like about to go to a frat party, and I was like, oh, I watch these videos, like do you watch these too? And she's like, oh yeah, I do. And like, oh, I like make them also. But she was like embarrassed and like trying to hide it and stuff. At that point I was like, oh my god, I was like, that's so cool, Lily. I was like, I make makeup videos or whatever. And then eventually, like years later, I started my ASMR channel, and she had a really big following and like shouted me out to get me like my first like big boost.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what you did for me.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I really liked Pig's Bum. I just thought that there was something apart from her poor thing, like very embarrassing handle name. I thought that there was something like so constantly, no matter how big her following got, so naturally ASMR about the way that she would talk. She was never performative. It always stayed very immature and very unself-conscious. And for me, that's when it loses its like ASMR qualities, when it gets a little bit self-conscious. You Like you're not
Yes.
in like a sound booth trying to like make really, I don't know, like manufactured sounds. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah, I agree.
Big's mom either retired her channel or she had already retired her channel, but I like made it all the way through her library and then I found you. I'm not kidding you, I do not listen to anyone else. I'm a subscriber. I was on Patreon. I'm on whatever the fuck this new platform is. Like, so
Guys, if I ever go missing, Genevieve has me in her apartment, gun to my head.
But do you remember when we first, I don't remember like when I first reached out to you in some way.
I think you messaged me on Instagram or something. Or you, yeah, I think.
But do you remember? So, Julia, so basically, at some point, I think it was during lockdown, I decided that I was going to throw my hat into the ring of becoming a creator, partially because I'd kind of been drawn to making a podcast, but I was like, we just don't need another white woman giving advice in the podcast space. Like that just does not feel like a gap in the marketplace. But maybe we need that on maybe on in like a falling asleep capacity. There's room for people to talk about like more adult subjects because so many of the creators are like teenage girls.
Yeah.
And I don't think even Julia would purport to say that she talks about like mental health stuff like you talk about incredible like life planning and like business advice and like relationship stuff, but it's not as it's not the same flavor as me, right? Yeah, like not even close. Yeah. So I thought I would do that. So but my question is, do you remember when I asked you for your address?
Or what? My address? Is that how you said
Yes, you were so helpful to me. I wanted to send you flowers, but you were like, is this bitch gonna come to my house with a knife?
Oh my god, wait, no, I do remember you did send me flowers. You know, I forgot about that, but I remember because I think I took a picture of them. Because, like, me and Tony sit across from each other at the dining room table and they were in the middle of it. And I was like, hey, like, because they were like big and pretty. I remember that. Yeah.
I remember thinking from that picture that you and Tony sit like long ways across from each other, like you're some sort of like royalty with like mini candelabras in between you and like.
No, we literally do, and I'm cracking up because everybody says that. Like when I post on TikTok, like what I eat in a day or whatever, I'll like show my food and then I'll show him, and he's like at the other end of the table, and they're like, "Why do you sit so far away from him?" Like I don't know.
Okay, what's so funny is that when people ask me, like, have you ever been asked what your restaurant pet peeves are? Like, you know,
I don't know.
If the waiter is too chatty. Okay, wait, here's a good question. What are your restaurant pet peeves if you're going out to dinner?
Restaurant pet peeves, like the restaurant, or like inclusive of like people I'm dining with and things too, or like just specifically like the restaurant stuff.
Yes and yes. I think that your audience would really like to know the answers to these questions.
Pet peeve, definitely like I don't know, like cheap tippers. I don't like that. I find that like embarrassing.
Have you ever left a bigger tip than the person who's paying when they walk away because you feel crappy about it?
What do you mean if I'm like splitting the bill with somebody and they like said that person doesn't tip a lot?
I'm just making this, I'm just making this example up. Like, let's say, for instance, your dad or something doesn't leave good tips, but he was taking you out to lunch and he left a tip and he gets up and he like is going to his car. If you ever like left another 20 or something.
No, it's actually
your dad.
No, I know, and it's so funny that you did say my dad because I know you're not talking about him, but he is the polar opposite of it. It's so funny because typically every time we go out to eat, he'll stop like she was very, very nice. Waitressing is a very tough job. I'm gonna leave her a little extra, and like it doesn't even. They could have been honestly like the most monotone, like terrible service ever, and like it doesn't matter. And he's like, she was very kind and
Your dad seems like so amazing. He's like super Buddhist. No.
He's not Buddhist anymore. He was. Now he doesn't define himself as that. I don't know what he's into spiritually. A lot of different, like reincarnation and positive manifesting and things like that. He has books and spiritual groups that he like goes to and participates in, and that's like his thing. And so he's, yes, you guys could probably have a long like spiritual conversation together, honestly.
Okay, wait. So I'm gonna come back to my question about restaurants and think about that. But something
what are yours?
Oh, also this was my thing is I can't stand when a table is too wide. Like if I'm on a date with my boyfriend and they sit us at a two-top and like it's like there's like a big distance between us. I'm like, excuse me, one of us is hard of hearing and we need to sit next to each other. I'm like, we'll like move the table closer to the bench so we can both sit on the same side so we can be like shoulder to shoulder because I'm like, love that.
Now that you say that, tables wise, I actually prefer like a bigger table out to dinner
obviously because you like to sit at the end of the fucking dining room table from Tony.
Because we always share. Okay, well at home it's not like this, but when we're out to dinner, we share and get a lot of stuff, and I want room for like my martini, my Diet Coke, my water, the appetizers, whatever. But I also hate small tables that you're like 1 inch next to the person next to you. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
when it's a big long move and then a bunch of. I hate that. That's like the worst thing ever. Yeah.
Totally. I hate that too.
Okay.
Totally. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. Oh, wait. What I was going to say is, so Julia was incredibly helpful to me starting my channel. But then I got Julia on the app Marco Polo, and the amount of free advertising I do for them is like Julia on Hello Fucking Fresh.
Literally.
Like, I have gotten so many people to subscribe to this video messaging app. So in the last couple of years, she and I have become friends, and I love her. She knows I'm not a stalker.
TBD, guys, we've never met in person, so.
True.
And also, for those that don't know, Marco Polo is essentially Snapchat, but without the expectation of like, oh, did you hear that, or was that just my computer? You didn't hear anything? You didn't hear my calendar? Okay, it was just my computer. It was just probably me.
I'm still self-conscious that you can hear my fridge going. I'm sorry about that.
I honestly can't. But Marco Polo is like Snapchat, but it's without the filters and like pictures. It's just video, but without the like expectation of like sending something back right away. Like it's almost like
do you want to hear my pitch?
Cast, yeah.
It's basically like it's FaceTime if you are not feeling ambushed by receiving a call. So for instance, it's video messaging, but it doesn't take up any data or space on your phone because it doesn't actually like hold on to them.
Yes.
Like Snapchat, but it's like you can just sit there and monologue at your friend without being watched or like watching their reaction, and it's like whenever it's good for them on their own time in their own schedule, they can take it in and reply or not reply or whatever. But what I'm saying is, it's like the feeling of real intimacy because you're like talking to each other's face, but it's also total control because like you don't have to be. It's vulnerability and not vulnerability at the same time. It's genius, and that's how I stayed in touch with everyone during like lockdown and blah blah blah.
Except for it's dangerous sometimes if I've had a few drinks and I know I like owe you back Marco Polo, and I'm drunkenly sending her Marco Polos. I'm like, oh god, that's just me though. Like if I'm doing that, that means that I do love you because I always like I FaceTime people when I'm drunk. Like I know, look, the next morning I'll be like, oh, Janelle, Gabrielle, nobody like answers me. But I definitely I do that for sure.
They also
ever watch it back though.
I have a feature where you can play something twice as fast. So if she sends me like a blacked out Marco Polo, I'm like, okay, we gotta get through this.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to literally not watch them at all because I won't remember what I said to you anyway. So,
okay. So what we've discovered from having become friends is that although I grew up in New York City and I'm like a New York Times hard copy subscriber and like very much like a science-based individual, Julia and I like really divide over like Eastern and Western, like how would you describe it? Like I'm always being like, Julia, let me tell you about like
Energy.
acupuncture, exactly, astrology, like stuff that's like much more Los Angeles than Philadelphia.
Yes. LA stuff. Yes, that's how I would describe it. And I'm like, okay, well, yes. Which this is not, I guess this is, I'd say, LA stuff, but I want to make it clear that we are doing a part 2 of this video on Genevieve's channel. This is just going to be like a continuation ramble, and she's going to be doing like a little horoscope reading, or no, what kind of reading are you doing to me, on me, for me?
Because I know Julia better than
she made me send her a file of my blood, my social security number, my firstborn. I had to sign. I was going to give it to her so she could give me this reading, but she assures me it's fine.
Listen, I do that with all my friends. Because it's Julia's birthday coming up, and because I know what her ASMR triggers are, and she loves personal attention. And she loves a psychic reading.
Yes.
And she doesn't believe in it. I told her that I would give her my armchair expert astrological reading of her astrological chart.
There it is.
I'm happy to jump into it anytime.
No, we can wait. So, all right. So getting back, so we're rambling, but that's all good. So Genevieve, she's an actress. She is a writer. She is jumping back into her coming out of retirement from her ASMR channel. So I do want to talk about your acting stuff for a couple minutes because, of course, you have a show on Hallmark Plus, which is their new streaming network, called The Chicken Sisters, the Chicken
Sisters. But if you're going to use the hashtag, it's just Chicken Sisters.
Okay,
that's gonna be why.
Beautiful. So she is the star, one of the stars of this show, with her friend and co-star Skylar Fisk, who, by the way, I was showing to Tony the other day, and he's like, where have I seen her? And he was Googling her, and he was like, oh my God, like the movie Snow Day from like when we were kids. And he was like, oh my God, yes, like I remember she was in this movie, and like we had like a nostalgia moment. So, but anyway,
that she watches you. I got her onto the Julia train.
I love it. Well, she tagged me in she followed me on Instagram, and then she tagged me in your video where you guys like mentioned me, and I was like, oh, thank you for the shout out. You know, Genevieve has like nothing but nice things to say about you. Like, I'm watching the show, it's so good. And she's like, thank you, same thing, blah blah blah. Love your channel. So we had a little
honestly the most salt of the earth person. Like, she's I'm just gonna share this little tidbit on the crew. On like really long days on set, obviously we would do what any human being would do and play like many rounds of fuck, marry, kill. And
love it.
Anytime that Skylar was in the bunch, like it would always be Mary. Like, these guys just loved her. Like, she is the most unbelievably good-hearted person, and she's a musician and obviously like an astonishing actress, but she's also Sissy Spacek's daughter, or any Sissy Spacek fan. Sissy Spacek. Oh, there's my landlord screaming in the background.
I don't hear anything.
Okay, well,
I really don't.
Screaming.
I
mean, screaming is his normal tone of voice. I wish. Oh, there's like. It's very loud.
I don't hear anything.
I was sharing with Julia in one of the segments that we edited out that I truly like believe in the spirit of agape and like love all people so much, except for my landlord, who like I want to nail to the wall and like tar and feather. Like, I cannot stand this person.
I'll have to Marco Polo you with my horrible and just like literally like verbally abusive to me, and we have him on video like doing crazy, like it's a whole thing. He was crazy. The guy that owns my house now, I don't know, we just go through a property management company, and they probably hate me too because I'm like, can I do this? Can we do that? Can I change the chandelier? Like every second. And they're like, what? Like,
whatever. They have to be so happy that they have an actual carpenter living in the house, so they never have to fix anything for you. Shut up.
exactly.
They're so lucky.
Exactly. Okay, we're the best tenants.
Oh my god.
Oh, so.
Oh, Skylar. Oh, but Skylar's. Oh, Sissy Spacek's daughter. Sissy Spacek.
Yeah.
One of the most famous actresses from the 70s. She was the teenager in the movie Carrie, you know, where they like dump all the blood on her.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
The movie Badlands, in the bedroom, you would recognize her if you saw her because she looks exactly like me.
Okay.
Like people have been like, you look like Sissy Spacek.
Interesting. I'll have to Google her.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. So Genevieve has her show that's out right now. I watched the first 3 episodes. What nights does it come out?
Okay, so it's on the streaming platform Hallmark Plus, which you can get on hallmarkplus.com. There's a
I'll link it below. Yeah.
There's a 7-day free trial if you want to walk around and wait for all 8 episodes to come out and then binge watch them. I don't mind if you do that. But the show is based on this book called The Chicken Sisters, which was like a New York Times bestseller, and it was like a Reese's book club selection, and it's just like a really yummy warm beach read, and it's basically about these 2 feuding families in the South who have these competing chicken restaurants, and what happens when a reality TV show comes to document the feud. And the character that I play is like very similar to Reese Witherspoon in Sweet Home Alabama, where like she's from this like super redneck town in the South, but she like copes with that by like growing up and running away to New York City and becoming like, you know, like a, I don't know, like a nouveau riche, like famous New Yorker who no one would ever assume has these like incredibly humble beginnings. It's funny, it's sweet, it's from the creators of Shrinking, Atypical, Schitt's Creek, Girls 5 Eva, like these shows that, I mean, I was never someone who watched Hallmark before, just didn't like call to me, but when I read the script and I saw the people who were behind it, I was like, oh, this is actually something different, and it is. And I think like the truth is, if I can get a little inside baseball, inside Hollywood with you for a second, like there was so little production happening after, I mean, Julie and I have talked about this privately, but like because of all of the different strikes, the screen actors went on strike, the directors went on strike, the writers went on strike. Now, like the hair and makeup union went on strike.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that happened. There was just a lot of like caution, and networks were extremely cautious about taking any kind of risks. So production really down. Hallmark is one of the only platforms that doesn't answer to some larger conglomerate that might be dramatically more conservative about taking on new material. So they were actually willing to take a big swing with like a new, edgier comedy property, and the creators were like, "Great, let's get it made. Like, let's just get it made." And they did a great job. I'm super proud of it.
Yeah, no, you should be. It's a really, really good show. I've already forgotten what day you said it comes out.
Oh,
or
Thursday.
what Thursdays. Okay, so today's Thursday, right? So no episode tonight. Right, today's Thursday. Yeah. So really good shows. Same like you. I've not really watched a lot of like Hallmark stuff, but it doesn't feel like that typical, like what you might associate like your mom's like Hallmark movies or shows with or whatever. It's very good. And like you said, it's warm and it feels, even though it's like a summery vibe. Like for me, like the southern piece feels like that autumn, like light a candle, like watch this show type of thing. And it's very good. And your character has definitely made me laugh. And how you like it's so funny because I've watched you in Handmaid's Tale. That's another show that Genevieve plays an amazing, well, not an amazing character on because she's, I won't spoil it. But I feel like with this show, because you are one of the more like main characters, it's so weird that I'm like looking at you playing this character and I'm like, no, like no, I know who that person is. Like it's just like a weird mind fuck for sure. So it's probably like the same vibes as like us having, a conversation in live ASMR.
Did you ever watch The After Party?
I think I started watching that. I think I watched like the first 2 episodes and then I couldn't get into it, and then I
didn't
like
mean that to be
backed
like
out of
a
it.
test or anything, but
No,
like
I know.
I think of like Mrs. Wheeler, Indigo from The After Party, and like this character, maybe like my character on like New Amsterdam or something, is being like the 3 legs of the stool of my personality, like drama, psycho comedy, and like I don't know, whatever this is.
Right. I love it.
And to go outside and like roll my elbows around and like I don't know.
I don't hear anything.
Raise hands, as you would say.
Throw hands.
Throw hands.
Okay, so I want to just ask you. I know we could probably talk for like 7 hours, and I want to make sure we get to your stuff for your video and not go for 8 hours. But I want to ask you 3 questions that I just randomly thought of to do with like the show / acting. It doesn't have to be speak to it as much or little as you want to them. So something that I feel like as like a layman, like having no understanding of like that world, and I think a lot of people are fascinated by it, is how hard is it to like memorize your lines because of all the things I'm like, okay, they're like things with acting, like how would I ever shed a tear on demand or whatever? There's probably people that could coach that. I feel like just something that seems so simple as like memorizing lines would be for me a barrier to entry in that world. Like, is that something that's difficult to do? Like, how does that come, especially for like, you're the main part, you have so much dialogue. And how does that work?
It's the easiest part.
Really?
The easiest part. It takes nothing, and also I think it would be the easiest part for you because
You
like,
think? Oh my God.
because you aren't someone who otherwise like, you haven't developed the part of your like brain and your body where you're used to like doing the other parts of the acting craft, which is why this is the most common question I get, because it's the thing that for the uninitiated is like the easiest thing to point to and be like memorizing. That's what you do as an actor. It's not.
Well, no, I think that's like the littlest, but like for me, like I feel like, because I think about like sponsorships, like when I do sponsorships, and they sometimes want me to say like, I won't do a script. I'll tell them no, like goodbye, I'm not doing that. But like one line they'll want me to read, I'm like, I'm looking at it 15 times. I'm like, did I get this right?
Okay. Your favorite form of exercise is walking and like kickboxing, right?
Yeah. Kickboxing hit.
Okay. So those are the things that like come most easily to you, partially because they're just like what's in your body. If you had to do something that was like, a rowing machine for like 60 minutes, you'd probably barf.
I hate that. Oh.
I have been memorizing lines for so long that I have a photographic memory, especially if it's good writing. I can look at the page, lift my head up, and say the words that are on it. It's just a muscle. It's not
interesting.
It's just a muscle. If I was doing 30 push-ups a day, on the day I had to do 31, it would not be a big deal.
Right. Okay. Interesting. I think it's partially a gift, so I'll give you like the credit for that if you won't give it to yourself. But okay.
I'm also a pretty good student, so
yeah. Right. Other thing I always think about, I love in like movies and shows to watch like blooper reels. I think it's just like the funnest thing, and I could go down The Office, right? Like Seinfeld, like those classic shows. Like there's just hours and hours of bloopers, and the shows are comedies, by nature, so it kind of makes sense. My question is that are there always like funny bloopers, or does it like totally depend on like the vibe of the set, the type of art, like people involved? Like what does that look like?
Yes, there's 1,000% always funny bloopers. Whether or not they make a blooper reel just has to do with like whether or not they make a blooper reel. But the reason for it is like, first of all, like you're always recording, so you're always catching stuff. But also, Julia, like my job takes 16 hours a day. By the time you get to hour 15, you are drunker than Julia on Marco Polo. Like you are so crazy. And also like shows that you wouldn't think would be that funny, like Handmaid's Tale. The vibe on set has to be so lighthearted in order to like get through the more challenging material. So like you're doing something about, like stealing someone's baby, but then, Bradley Whitford, who plays forgetting the name of his character, that's so bad. Someone who's listening right now is awake and being like, it's blah blah blah. But Bradley Whitford is the actor from The West Wing. He would be directing, so he's the funniest person alive. So he would be doing this like incredibly painful material, but then he would find some hilarious way to like yell cut all the time. The comedy comes from the extremity of how utterly painful and boring it is to make.
I get that. You're like slap happy type of deal. You're just like so tired, so like delusional. Okay, love that. And then last question is just what was your favorite part of working on the Chicken Sisters?
The people. My favorite part was the crew. Like hands down, it was the best crew I've ever worked with. They were, we shot in Vancouver, where I've shot before, not in a while actually, but like the Canadian.
I remember you were excited to go there.
She's saying that with a lot of sarcasm because it is like on the continent of North America, as far from New York City, where like my life, my significant other, my family, like my summertime was happening, and I was like, it's so amazing that I'm about to do this job, and also does it have to shoot in Vancouver? And so that was the best part. It's just the people, like they were honestly, any one of them was like the kind of guy who would like put a jacket down over a puddle if you were gonna walk over it. Like they were just the sweetest, most chivalrous, wonderful, funny people. Period.
Love that. All right. Amazing. So, guys, we are going to cap my video here. Part 2, Genevieve's giving me her reading. We'll ramble some more. I'm sure veer off into like 75 different directions. Live Darn Feather, Landlord, whatever we're feeling like. So make sure you go and check out Genevieve's channel. I'm going to link that in the description box, of course. And then I'll link how they can go sign up for Hallmark Plus so they can watch you on the Chicken Sisters every Thursday night. And any final words that you want to say to the people of ASMR Babe Land?
I love you, Julia, and also I have never for 1 second or $1 regretted signing up for your platform for extra content. Like and subscribe